Are you beginning to think about looking for a home? Sitting at home trying to figure out what the best app is to look at homes? Stay tuned and I'll tell you more about all the different ways you have to search for homes online. Hi everyone, I'm David Taylor. Welcome to Taylor's Tuesday Tip and Tour. Today we're going to talk about the home search from the buyer's perspective. And this usually begins probably 6 to 12, sometimes even 18 months before you send me a text, send me an email, pick up the phone and call me and say, hey David, we're thinking about buying a home. Usually, and this is not 100% of the time, but most of the time, my home buyers have been looking on their phone, looking on their iPad. A few of them actually pull out the laptop and look, and you're using an app really in order to search because most home searches have begun online. And that's one of the reasons why we tell sellers that they have to have professional pictures and they have to be spectacular, because as a buyer, you're sitting there looking at your phone, scrolling, and typically if we haven't, as a seller, wowed the home buyer with the first 4 pictures, they're gone, they're moving on to the next house. So I want to talk a little bit about this because you may be in this situation right now where you're beginning to search for homes. You're thinking, my lease is up in the summer of 2021 and I'd like to be a homeowner then. I'm not ready to do it in 2021, but 2022, I'm ready. So you download the Redfin app, or you download the Zillow app, or Realtor.com, maybe even the Keller Williams app. Yes, we have one. We'd love to have you use it. But I'm going to basically today talk about the big two, which is Redfin and Zillow. And the reason why they are the big two is that they were the first companies that really got out in front of everybody else and created an app for mobile search. They did a great job. Even though they're well, in the case of Redfin, they're a competitor of ours. Zillow does not have a brokerage yet in Illinois, so they are not a competitor. But both companies did a fantastic job of realizing that the whole home buying process was going to start on your phone. It was going to start right here, and you were going to look, and you were going to scroll, and you were going to go back and forth, and that was what it is. So by the time you've looked and you've started looking, you've got a really good idea about what you want. And that is the beauty, I think, of what has really changed in real estate over the last 12, 15 years. Is, it used to be, that we were, not everybody had a smartphone, first off, but we weren't searching online. So we were sitting at our desk looking at the laptop or a desktop monitor, searching for homes, and then it was typically on Realtor.com because they were, again, first and foremost out there with the search. But it was also on our local, company websites. There was KellerWilliams.com or KW.com. There was ColdwellBanker.com. There was AtProperties.com. There were all those different sites that you could search. But now it's changed because now you're able to get alerts. You're able to put in search criteria. You're able to say, I'm looking for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. I want to be in Lakeview. I want to be in Bucktown. I want to be in Rogers Park, or I want to be in Honolulu, Hawaii. And you're able to say, this is my price range. I'm willing to pay this. I'm willing to, this is my bottom range. I'd like parking. I'd like an indoor swimming pool. And you can say so many different things that you want. And then you get alerts. So when a new home comes on the market that fits that criteria, bing, you're able to pick up your phone, you're able to look at it, you're able to scroll through. As a result, when it does come time to begin that home search, you pick up the phone and you text or call or even email me and say, David, we're ready to go look at homes. You've got a really good idea about what it is that you're looking for. When I used to do a home buyer consultation, it would start with, okay, what area do you want to be in? How familiar are you? And we're just going to use Chicago here. Are you familiar with the differences between Lakeview, Lincoln Park, and Logan Square? Or do you want to be further north in Uptown? What part of Uptown? Do you want to be in Andersonville or do you want to be in Buena Park? There's so many different things, and it's changed. For the better, I think, because as a buyer, you have so much more information when you go to look at homes. By the time we've started looking, you've already seen hundreds, if not thousands, of different homes. Maybe not on the inside, but certainly on your phone. And you've seen the pictures, you've seen the virtual tours, you've seen the Matterport tours. You have looked at the prices. You have seen the prices drop as homes don't sell. And then when they finally do sell, you see what price they've sold for. As a result, you're a much more educated buyer than buyers were 10 years ago, 20 years ago, certainly 30 or 40 years ago. And that's been really helpful. Especially right now, we're in a multiple offer situation in much of the country. And there's just this lack of inventory that we've been talking about for the last couple of years. And as a result, as an educated buyer, you're able to make an educated decision about how much to offer on a home. Most of the buyers are still looking for guidance from the real estate professional, from me, but they also know way more than they've ever known. And I think that's great. So let's talk a little bit about both Zillow and Redfin. So as I mentioned, Redfin is a real estate brokerage, so they are a competitor of ours. And their app is probably actually overtaken Zillow as far as my buyers, what they are using. And it really doesn't matter whether or not it's a 25-year-old, or a 75-year-old. I've got somebody relocating from Santa Fe, and I don't know that he's 75, but I know that he's over 70. And he is using Redfin because I get the emails from him. Hey, look at this house. So it's something that a lot of people use because it's easy, it's well organized, it gives you the search capability, and it also gives you the alerts. And that's great. Their information is mostly accurate and is up to date, and it works perfectly great. It's just as good as our Keller Williams app is, and maybe even a little bit better. Don't tell Gary Keller that I said that, but it's a good app. It works fine. Zillow's app is also good. It works fine. The big difference that I have found is that their information is not always as accurate, perhaps, as the real estate brokerages. And by brokerages, I mean Redfin, Keller Williams, Coldwell Banker, At Properties, all of those. The big reason why it isn't is how they are getting their information. All that information is coming through the multiple listing service. So think of it like as this big pipe, which technically I guess the internet is. And all the information gets in there and it gets shipped through the pipe, and it comes out the other side on your phone, on your iPad, on your desktop computer. And it's just a question of the speed and then the accuracy. So as brokerages, we basically get updated like this. Our site gets updated, our app gets updated. The Realtor.coms of the world, the Zillows, the Trulias, other non-brokerages typically are getting their information from the same place, but not at the same speed. And as a result, Redfin's app tells you the moment that something goes under contract. Zillow may take an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours. I don't think it's much later than that, but typically there's a little bit of a delay, and that can be an issue. Just the other day, I was out looking at homes with the buyer, and we had, 4 or 5 homes to go to, and we got a notification that one of the homes that we were going to look at went under contract. And this came from the agent directly saying, hey, just want to let you know this is no longer available. And we looked at the first 2 homes, and we're getting ready to walk out the door go to the 3rd home. And my client's phone got a ding, and he said that property just went back on the market. So from available and on the market to off the market to on the market, all within about an hour and a half of each other. But it was an immediate update, and the contract fell apart, bad buyer, and we had the opportunity to then go look at the house. So, that is I think just one of the differences between Zillow and the brokerage apps that are out there. And from my perspective, it really doesn't matter what you use, whether or not you are using Redfin or Zillow or KW or Realtor.com. It's all the same information. It's just a question of you've become comfortable using one of those apps, and as long as you're comfortable and it's got your information in the same place, keep using it. Doesn't matter to me. The thing that's important for me is that we have accurate information. The thing that I know from past experiences, and I must say Zillow is better at this than they were, but I tell you, up until like 6 months ago maybe, my clients would send me more homes that were off market with Zillow than were on market. So they'd either sold, they were already under contract, or they'd been canceled or expired. They hadn't sold. And I'd get, hey, what about this? I'm like, it's not available. So typically don't get that with the brokerage apps. So with the Redfin and KW and Coldwell Banker and App Properties, there's many others. Those are just the 4 that I keep mentioning. But Zillow is a little bit better than that. And who knows, Zillow may or may not become a brokerage in Chicago, and if that happens, their app may get a little bit more timely and a little bit better information. But again, it's great, it works fine. So that's typically the difference between the different apps. You are, as a buyer, looking at homes, and one piece of advice that I have for you is that pictures are they're good. It's better than not looking at pictures. In fact, if you see a property that only has a picture of the outside and there are no pictures of the inside, the first question that you probably want to ask is why? What is wrong with the inside of the house that they didn't want to show me any pictures? There's probably a reason. That said, pictures can tell so many different stories, and sometimes it tells a great story about the actual condition of the house, and sometimes it doesn't. I remember I had a client years ago, and we sent the photographer out to the house. She took the pictures, sent them to me. I then forwarded them on to the sellers, and the seller was not happy. And I said, what's wrong? I think that the pictures are pretty good. She said, they're too good. Our house doesn't look that nice. So sometimes that happens. And as a buyer, you look at the pictures and you're either going to make a decision to look at the house or not look at the house. Typically that's it. And I remember looking at homes a couple weeks back with somebody, and before we went out, I said, this house has got a lot of different things going on, but I think it's worth looking at just to see, what the pictures look like, if it tells an accurate story or not. And we got out there and there were a lot of things going on, and it was not, a great house, but the pictures were good enough to get us in the door. And a lot of times that's the case. The pictures are good enough to get us in the door, and then we get there and we're like, no, this doesn't work at all. Other times the pictures are like, not so great. I don't like the angle that they took them. Sometimes they take them and they're way up at the top of the ceiling and like trying to get the whole room in the view. Sometimes, the light isn't good. Sometimes, there's all sorts of reasons why pictures aren't good. But that doesn't mean that the house isn't good. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't go look at it. Pictures just kind of give us a general idea. Do we want to go take a look at the house, or do we want to skip looking at the house? Other things to look at, to pay attention to are certainly, price range, address, location, things like that. One of the things, though, to, I guess, not take with any authority is different things that may be checked as far as features of the home. Sometimes we see that somebody forgets to check a box on the multiple listing service, and as a result, it doesn't show up. So if you're like, gosh, I love this place, everything about it looks good, but I don't know if the main bedroom has a bathroom attached to it. Is there, an ensuite bathroom? Mark it as a maybe and let me do some homework and let me check and find out, if that's something that's important to you. Same thing with things like parking. Sometimes they check that there is parking and it's an exterior lot or exterior space versus a garage space. Sometimes it is a garage space, but they don't check that. They check the wrong box. And that's just human error. It happens. It's unfortunate, but we want to make sure that we are building as big of a funnel and then narrowing it down as possible. So don't eliminate something just because it doesn't, check all the boxes, quite literally for you. Okay, so that's just kind of an overview of the early search process. You are looking online, which is totally great and normal. When you are ready, make sure you pick up the phone and call or email or text your favorite realtor, hopefully me, and we'll be happy to talk to you about what the next step is to actually going out and looking at homes. And that's a whole other video, and we'll talk all about that. So thank you for joining me. I hope you have a fantastic day, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time on Taylor's Tuesday Tip and Tour.